Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a glimpse of the homecoming. So, first of all, I just want to say I'm Jamie, if you're new here. I think I know most of you, but I just want to say that this call right now that you are all here for or watching the recording of is really a great reminder to not give up, to not give up on yourself because I'm going to be talking about it. And if you have no interest in joining this membership that I have starting this week, that is connection and community that runs through the next 3 months, you're still going to benefit from today. Like you'll hear me talk about it, feel free to omit it. But in any case, I had this membership that is starting on Tuesday and I had one person signed up for so long. I had one person and I thought, "Oh no, what am I going to do? I really want to run this and it can't be a community. It can't be a community with only one person in it." And those of you who have been in groups before, even yesterday we did a group sharing at one point in our boundaries workshop and someone said at the end, "I didn't realize how special this is." And it's one thing to share with people you know. It's one thing to have conversation about things like this, like deep and meaningful conversations that aren't just about how cold it is outside, which we still talk about. It's great. It's another thing to do it with people you don't know that are here also working on themselves, that are here also for a greater good of their inner world, which will no doubt ripple into this outer world that is pretty wild right now. It's pretty wild. So if we can start here, to me, that is the best possible way to do it. So I was like thinking of contingency plans of like, okay, I basically will give this program away if no one joins because I want to do it so badly. And I have a business coach, so I reached out to for help. I was like, please send help. What should I do? And one of the things she said was, don't give up on yourself. Don't just quiet yourself because you think it's not going to happen. And like she was like, bring the energy as if this community is already full. And then I thought, you know what? I need to show people what this community can be like. So this is the birth of this, which Lisa and I also had some great conversation around it. And I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse of what the homecoming is all about. And if anything, I'm going to share these tools that have been so valuable, so precious to me. And if that's all you get to today or this winter, you get to carry with you through this next week, even, then my job is done. I am so thrilled. If I can create even a tiniest impact on one of you, then that's what I'm here for. So thank you for being here and for giving me hope that this sort of conversation is needed in the world. So I am going to share a little bit about myself. I've got a little, I don't like calling them PowerPoint presentations, but I think that's what it is. Let's call it slides, a slide deck. I think that's the cool way to say it. Let me know if there are any technical issues here. I just feel like for some, it's easier to see words on a screen than just hear my voice. And if just hearing my voice is better for you, you're welcome to close your eyes. All right, so now I need to share my screen. Give it a second. There's always these. You might need to move. I'm going to move some things around. Zoom. Not sure what that means. Okay. Oops. Sorry, everybody. If you've done anything on Zoom or that involves screen sharing, you know the sometimes pains that I always want you guys to like close your eyes until it's like properly set up. All right. Can you see it? It should say a glimpse, thank you. Okay. Are your pictures in the way or is it okay? It's okay? All right. If anything is ever blocked, just let me know. I want to see a few of you just to make sure I can't see everyone at the same time. But welcome, welcome if you're just arriving. So, a glimpse of the homecoming. I'm going to give you a background to how the homecoming was created. I've offered two versions of this program, and now it's turning into a membership because I felt like 6 or 7 weeks wasn't enough. That was when things were just getting good. And for us to really learn these kind of, I call them tools, but literally these strategies that we can have in our toolkit, we need to spend a bit more time nurturing them. We need to spend a bit more time experimenting with them. Because I always think, when life hits you, you could say shit hits the fan. We probably won't in that moment go, I need to find that journal that I wrote that note in that that was so helpful in that workshop that I took. if that journal is readily available for you, amazing. But very likely it won't be in that moment. So it needs to be in here. It needs to be inside of you, which is why for me, I try to keep things as simple as possible so that it's just readily available when we need it. And I talk about, when shit hits the fan, but also when things are good. When things are good, what can we do to amplify that? What strategies can we have to make them even better? And what could we do to share that with others? So this is what's going to happen. So I always like to know a game plan. I'm someone who I talk about this with other people who lead groups, and I'm like, if you say it's going to end at 11, it sure as well better end at 11 because that's how I like it. Yesterday we ran a bit long in our workshop, but in any case, so I'm hoping to end at 11, but I also like to know usually what's going on. So I will share a little bit about me. Many of you know me, but there's maybe some things that you'll learn today too. The other thing I wanted to share is there was a workshop that I gave called Unbecoming, and this was like a precursor to the homecoming. I really felt this to be a really important part before we start to curate this life where we're really feeling connected to who we are and we're actually going towards the things we desire. We might need to create space for that. We might need to shuffle some things out of the way. We talked about that in the boundaries workshop yesterday. And not only is it like saying no to things or moving things out of the way, but there might be pieces of who we are that no longer serve us anymore. We are constantly turning into these different iterations of ourselves. We're not changing who we are, we're becoming more of who we are. But that might take a little bit of unbecoming first. I mentioned we're going to do a little mini movement break, which literally could be like a stretch. So that's going to be like a little 30-second movement before we get into the homecoming chapters. And then we'll do a little takeaway at the end, like what are you craving at this moment in life? And which of these chapter themes actually stand out to you as what could help you at this moment in time? And then finally, I will share a little bit about the membership that's coming. And again, if you're like, I'm not here for that, you're welcome to leave early. I'm never offended. But for anyone who is curious, there'll be some time at the end for that. So about me, a multidimensional human. There are many, many parts of me, and I think the one I was thinking about it this morning, and I think the piece of me that stands out the most or that I love about me a lot is that I'm curious, is that I'm really curious about life, but I'm not curious about all things in life. I'm really curious about humans and our behavior and our thought process and our movements and our bodies and the internal wisdom of our bodies. Honestly, I'm not curious about politics. And I don't have the capacity to be. I have to choose. We all have a certain amount of brain power, of, room for knowledge. And so I take little bits and pieces of, things that I hear along the way. But when I really think about what's important to me, it's the things that I just mentioned, is all these things that I love. I'm just going to see if there's the chat. Okay. Thanks for being here, Courtney. I'm so happy. All right, I'm just checking in with the chat now and then. So if there's anything, do feel free to unmute yourself too if there's anything that comes up. As I'm an entrepreneur, I co-own the marina, which I'm pointing to that way because it's literally down the street with my father. And then I co-own the yoga studio with my partner, Valerie. These businesses have taught me so much about running a business, but I have to say about myself. If ever you're an entrepreneur or if you have been at any moment in your life, it's the biggest form of personal development that I think we can go through. And it doesn't mean you need to be an entrepreneur to receive and experience personal development, but it truly stretches you a lot. And I'm also a business coach. I am a life coach. I call it an alignment coach. I run these programs. So I also have my own personal business. And as I mentioned, if you just arrived late, I mentioned at the start how I was going to just quietly close my membership. I was going to reimburse the one person signed up and just quietly not talk about it anymore. And so this involved me really stretching myself to say, no, Jamie. I had to give myself so many pep talks to say, no, you love this. You're good at this. This is going to help people. And so I continued pushing through, but it's not easy. The amount of times that I've thought, if someone was just paying me to do a job that I could just show up for and do the job, like that wouldn't be so bad. And then I think about my bigger purpose in life, and I know that can't be it. I know I need to do more. So, and we all have our version of more. It doesn't mean you need to be an entrepreneur to do that. I'm a cancer thriver, I call it. I was diagnosed 2.5 years ago or just over. And this photo, it almost makes me want to cry because this photo was was taken. If you're in any programs with me, we're gonna cry together, just FYI. But this photo was taken days after I was diagnosed. And I look at that photo and that moment, and I'm the happiest. I'm so happy. And I was with my friends. I had received this like big slap in the face. And I have to say, because I've been doing this work for so long, I've been doing personal development work for like 5 years, maybe it's not that long, maybe in ways before that too. But it didn't hit me as hard as it would have. And this is why I think this is so important to have these conversations, is because if you get hit with something that might knock you off your feet, ideally, you have some strategies. Ideally, you have some of these tools that you can be like, oh, wait, I have this. My feet are still on the ground. I'm still in my body. Oh my gosh, thank goodness I can breathe. Okay, I'm okay. And I'm not only okay, I'm happy. I'm happy. So, cancer is going to come up because it's been such a huge lesson for me. And it's actually something I'm so grateful for. And so I use it to my benefit. It's not something I asked for. Of course, we're going to get hit in life with things that we don't want. And this could be so much worse. Of course, it could be so much worse. I hear of stories of people that are my age or younger than me that they were in hospital beds at Christmas getting a stent put in, or, and here we are. We're able to be here on our screen. We may have certain ailments that we're dealing with, and yet we're here. And our minds, they're so powerful. They're so powerful to tell us that not only are we okay, but we have the ability to be happy too. So, okay. Whew, I did it. I cried already, so it happened. Okay. And then the other thing that I think is important about me are my values. And this is something too that I think we should all have a real good think about is, we could do Brene Brown's values exercise, but also just at this moment, what is important to you in life? My health, I didn't put that there, but that's obviously, it's a huge one. But when I really move through my life and I think about like, how do I want to be living? What do I want to be bringing into everything I do? Fun, connection, and supporting small business. That one is not on Brené Brown's values list, but it's funny. It's something that really comes up a lot for me. And it makes me so darn happy to do that. And whether that's coaching a woman who's trying to start a business about something she's passionate about, or it's literally going down to the local bookshop and buying yet another book that I can add to my pile of books, it makes me so happy. And it makes me come back to me, actually, which so does fun and connection. So it's really important to kind of know what those things are for you, because in those moments, again, when you're kind of shaken up, or even just in those moments where you're misaligned, when you're feeling like we talked about these emotions we feel yesterday, that we talked about it yesterday, these emotions of frustration and anger and disappointment and envy. And we see these as bad emotions, and they're not. And as my sister Nikki said yesterday, is they're just information. They're telling us that we need something, that something might be misaligned. And so what are those things for you? And usually for me, I can draw from my core values in one way or another, and it brings me back in check. It realigns me. So those are good things to know. And so I want to talk about a little moment about unbecoming, because if you've heard this before, probably especially as women, maybe Keith, you've heard it too, but that is so unbecoming of you. That is so unbecoming of her. Oh, and usually it means that woman has kind of fallen apart. Oh, so unbecoming. And I was like, no, this is great. This is good. This is what we want to do. I looked at the definition, not fitting or appropriate, not flattering. Flattering to who? Not in keeping with accepted standards of what is right or proper in polite society. And I laugh because, I mean, who wants to do that? Like this is what we're here to not do. To that, I ask, shall we? Like, shall we do that? Yes. Susan's like, yes. So I thought this was just so great that like, let's become unbecoming and just start eliminating those things that we're really doing because we think it's what we're supposed to do, that we're doing because it's what others have expected of us for so very long. So, excuse me, I'm going to take a little sip of water. Lisa shared a quote. Can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? Charles Bukowski. Exactly that. Exactly that. And so much of what we do and what I like to talk about is a deconditioning, is an unconditioning of who we are or who we've become because of everything that's been imposed on us. And some of it is like ingrained. I think I'm gonna have Nikki come and do a little group hypnosis session in the membership. She offered to do that yesterday. So that's where our like subconscious, our like everything that's buried so deep that we're like, no, 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 I'm good, I'm good. And it's like there's these in parts that are so deep inside of you that you think are you and actually are not serving you at all anymore. So those are things that we can start to shed to create some space. That's really what we need to do. Life is so full. So why just a little bit more on unbecoming to find our way home, to become who we want to be. You can listen to my words or you can read or you could attempt to do both if your brain works that way, but I always elaborate on the words here. So first, we need to shed a bit of what we are not. We need to know who we are not. And often when I find I'm guiding people in finding clarity in what they want in life, often people know what they don't want. Often they first know they're not sure what they want, but not this. And I think that's such a good turning point moment when you start saying, not this. And that might be about certain parts of you, but that might just be about certain parts of your calendar that you have on your schedule. It might be certain relationships you have. I'm not sure what, but not this. And that means that like hold on to that because that's a really good starting point that can propel you into eventually this. Ah, this. And we need to break so many patterns and old beliefs. It's like a long game. A real long game. I've been at this a while now, and I'm sure some of you have been at it way longer than me. And they still come back. They still creep in, which is why I'm going to keep doing this work over and over again. It's so, so valuable to repeat because we sometimes lose our way and we sometimes forget and we fall back into old patterns. How easy is it to do that? It's so easy to just be who we've been for so long. Great, you know? But I think if you're here for more. You're here because you know there could be something different. So we strip it all away. That's another option is we can strip it all away. And that's not always going to be the solution, but for certain things, and it might be again a relationship, it might be something that you do in your business or your job, you have to remove it completely to take a pause from it, like in that Friends episode where they go on a break, to know if you actually want to come back to it. And I stopped teaching yoga for kids. I don't know how many years ago now. I think like 6 years ago was before COVID. But because human design told me if something doesn't light you up anymore, change directions. And I stripped it away. And I could have just said, I'll just take a breather. I'm going to just like dip my toes into something else, but I'm going to keep this because it's safe and because I have some income coming in from it. And for that, I just had to strip it. And I sampled it after, like weeks later, months later, years later, even. Still, sometimes I sample it, and it's still, no, not this. It's still not something I want to come back to, which could have gone differently. It could have been like, okay, I just needed a year off, and now I'm like really excited to do this again. So sometimes it just needs to be removed. Excuse me. And we're so tired in general, the general consensus, you may not be, you may be like, I'm here, I'm energized. This morning, I feel so energized. But so many people, so many of us are tired. I coached a 21-year-old girl and she was like, oh, I'm so tired. And like a big tired, not just like I didn't sleep well last night, but like a life tired, you know? And I was like, oh no, you too? You're so young. Something has got to give. Something has got to give. We need to be taking better care of ourselves so that we're not tired all the time. And different people will have different levels of tired. If you're a projector, we're going to talk about human design sometimes. Some of you have projectors. I know one of you here, probably a couple of you. It's normal too. It's normal to not be able to give as much as someone else gives. And it's normal to want to take a nap in the afternoon or go to bed early or only have the social battery for one event every 2 weeks. That's a normal thing for many people. And yet we force ourselves and we push ourselves and we think, well, they're doing it, so I should do it. So we just need to do what we need to do, right? It's not about what your friend needs to do. Some of these, and like, we're not going to do any like journaling exercises specifically, but these are some of the old habits or patterns or stories. And these are the women we're becoming. We're just gonna form, I mean, it looks a little culty, but we're just gonna be like this gathering of women that are just like dressed in lace and doing whatever we want. And your version of lace could be jogging pants. I love that too. People pleasing, saying yes to everything. That might be something that's not serving you anymore. Say no to everything. Some of you, maybe a little hermity. Might feel good to just stay in the comfort of your home, yet you might be missing out on opportunities that are actually so good for you and so fun. Worrying. If we could just like all cross that one out, that would be so cool. Multitasking, controlling, trying to grip onto everything in life and control everything, not being open to help, not being able to rest, or feeling like rest is lazy and lazy people are not productive members of society, or whatever stories we have around that. Dependencies, things like crutches that we might have, which I also have too, is things we lean on when times are harder. Overworking, that's a dependency too. Beauty standards, negative self-talk. These are like the list literally could go on and on. So these are some of the things you might see like one or two or all of them and be like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want that anymore. Or I want to change that, you know? I have these unrealistic beauty standards of like who I'm supposed to look like or what it's supposed to be and my or how my body is supposed to look. And we talk about how is your body supposed to feel? That's what matters. That's what's really important. So then the homecoming. Enter the homecoming. And just to explain, I really think this is our home. No matter where we are, we could feel at home. No matter who we're with, we could feel at home. And that's going to be harder in certain situations, maybe around certain people who really ruffle your feathers. They challenge you a little bit more and they make you feel not quite so at home because they're pulling you outside of you. That's literally what's going on. I'm sure you can think of some people that just like you're no longer able to be you because they're just taking up every space or whatever energy is going on is just pulling you outside. And even certain places, maybe you walk into a certain person's house, or even, maybe you have a job that you have to go to this part of it where you're like, oh, I hate this office space. It feels, that sort of thing is again, it's information that's telling you, I don't feel at home here. And so I can't feel at home in here. So that's what we also want to think about is our actual environment around us. And one of the bonuses that I've put for the homecoming membership, she's a client of mine who offers interior design. And she's going to come and talk about, but she does it next level. Like it's really about, she's a coach as well. So it's really about like, who do you want to be in here? And how can we make out here actually serve that? How can we make your home environment, even one room in your home, make it feel like, oh, now I can fully be. And so that's going to be a really fun little bonus. But um, yeah, so I was listening. I didn't run a program for a couple of years, but I realized I was taking in so much information. I was having conversations. I was paying attention with clients, one-on-one clients I had, with friends, with family, with people at the yoga studio. And disconnect was what I was noticing, a disconnect. So both that and people are tired. Like those were the two things that I was like, mm, there's something here. There's something we can do about this? And it might be disconnect in so many different ways. So many people aren't in their bodies. There's a disconnect there, which is why I call it yoga, but it's really just movement and spending time in your body. That's what it is when I do it in the homecoming membership. And then even disconnected from your desires. Some of you said that yesterday where you're like, I don't even know what I would want. Like, yeah, I could say no to that thing, but then what, right? So this is what we need to figure out too, is what do you actually like? What do you like? What makes you happy? And it takes a lot of experimenting to get there. One of the homeworks that I give is taking yourself out on a date. It's just a solo date with yourself. And like go to dinner and, maybe don't be on your phone even. Maybe have a book. I don't know if that feels nice. And maybe don't get interrupted by someone. My friend went on a date yesterday and was just like the person next to her would not stop talking to her. So she took her date home. A date with herself, that is. So it doesn't always work as planned, but and I also knew that I had the ability to offer this. I knew that I was going to be able to like really get clear on the tools that have worked for me. And trust me, the amount of workshops and programs I've taken and the amount of information I've learned, and I just feel like this is what stood out to me. And now this will be my third time leading these themes, and they still stand so true to me. And it's these words, okay? Intention, listening, rest, creativity, action, freedom. There's so many things that fall under those kind of umbrella themes as well. So we get to like play around with these ideas. But if you think about how like, ugh, I'm feeling in a mood today, or like I'm off today, something's off, you could just say like, what do I need? And likely something, we could go to our core values for sure, but maybe something from this list is actually going to be the answer. And then we have to get a little like, more creative. That's why creativity is one of them with, okay, yeah, I know I need rest, but I don't want to take a nap. Napping makes me feel like crap. So you need to get a little bit creative with what your version of rest is. And then the one that I think at the root of it all is what we all really want is freedom. We all really want freedom. And I just like, when I think back to when I started as a coach, I really, it's as simple as I want to be free to be me so you can be free to be you. And I want you to be able to be free to be you so I can be free to be me. And that's it. And we might get people in our lives that rattle us and shake us. And meanwhile, they're being themselves. So let's allow them to be themselves. Freedom. So I'm just going to skim through these chapters. We're doing well for time. Does anyone have any? I'm just going to actually stop sharing for a second. I just want to see the chat. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions? I'll just share. Okay, I'm going to just share. Lisa also said I went to line dancing at the Knowlton pub. It was so fun. It was a date with yourself, and you happened to see me there. But but it was for yourself, with yourself. I had a lady move to my table for 2 hours. Yeah, okay. It was another friend I was talking about too. So we've all been there. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions or anything that's come up for them so far? We have some time this morning. Loving every ounce. Great.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Jamie, I was listening to you talk and everything, all those points really, really resonated. And there were things I've been struggling with, especially in this past year. So actually, I just signed up for your membership.
No way. Wait, I'm going to reimburse you because I was going to say at the end, everyone here gets a discount. So we'll sort that out after. Thank you, Lisa. That's awesome. All right. I will keep going, and then that way at the end, if there's anyone else that has anything else they want to share, we could do that. All right. I'll get back into my PowerPoint. I can find it. Okay. So again, let me know if there's any technical issues here. So, um, intention. An intention. You hear this a lot at the start of a yoga class. Set an intention for your class. And I feel like often people are like, what does that mean? And it often just gets said. And I've done it before too. I've said that and without much explanation. But I was playing around with definitions of it, and I really like this: a guiding principle or mindset that reflects how you want to show up or feel in the present moment. A guiding principle or mindset. So I like to see it as a little seedling, just a little seedling that you get to plant. Today I want to feel my breath. That's my intention, is to feel my breath. And then the hope is that you come back to that intention throughout the day because you had said it today. That means the whole day. So there could be various intentions that we have for ourselves at various moments. And even for today, showing up. What was your intention for being here today? Was it to learn? Was it to spend time with other people? Was it to get curious? Was it to find out what it's like to be at home? There's so many things. And so it could be your why. It could be like, why did I come here? Because that's going to be my driving force. That's going to be my guiding light that keeps me here. And a goal, I'm trying to say intention versus a goal, let's say. A goal is in the future. But I really think if we live intentionally, we will reach our goals. If we're really clear in how we want to live in this moment, then we can get to where we want to be. So we get to play in that kind of realm of I talked about it this week in my classes of daydreaming. And I was talking about the difference between being distracted, which means you're being pulled out of your life, you're being pulled away, whereas daydreaming, you're playing with the potentiality of your life. So I love the idea of wandering, of staring off into the distance, as long as we're not thinking about our grocery list. And like, of course, there's going to be opportunity. We have to think about our grocery list sometimes. It's, we want to eat food, and sometimes we love making recipes. So you might be really excited about your grocery list. But those worries, like that worrying that we had on that thing of what we might want to remove, that might be what takes up a lot of space. And it eliminates the daydreaming from happening or being able to happen. And then the other thing I really like to check in with is what am I trying to prove? So when you think about the intention behind why you're doing a thing, what am I trying to prove here? And this often comes into play with relationships with other people. So you might be going to help a family member out with something. What am I trying to prove? And there could just be the fact that you want to go and help them. That's fine. That's great. Of course we want to do that. Even if it may be like, yeah, of course I'd rather be doing something else. I'd rather like I had a friend call me last night and she busted her ankle and needed help getting her cat inside. It was my one night home alone or I was just like had nothing to do. And I was like, oh, this is inconvenient for me. And meanwhile, this poor friend, her cat had to go to the vet and she's busted her ankle on the way. And like, of course I'm gonna go do that. Of course. And at the same time, when I thought about like, what am I trying to prove? I'm like, I'm not just trying to prove I'm a good friend. I just am a good friend and I would want her to do the same for me. So there's going to be times where we just show up for other people. And then I'll talk more about how the end of that story after. But another example though that I just want to say because when we think about our intention of doing something, I run the marina with my dad and I have for many years. And that's been a big practice of me. That's been a big moment for me to ask, what am I trying to prove? Because he runs at a different speed. And I'm a worker. I like to do things and he's next level. And to keep up with him would have not only been really hard, but it wouldn't have been me. It wouldn't have been me. So often when I feel this pull, I should go help him with that. I should go do that. I should go do this to make him see that I'm a good, not only a good business partner, but a good daughter. Then I have to stop and ask myself, what am I trying to prove in that moment? What am I trying to prove? I'm a good daughter? No, I already am. I am. I'm a good business partner. I already am. I don't need to go do that. He wants to do that now, he can do that. So there are moments where you are going to talk yourself out off that ledge and hold yourself back. Just want to see the chat. Yes, yes. Sorry, I'm just checking the chat, Valerie. Yes, I can send the replay to anyone, no problem. You just let me know their email address. So try as much as possible to make your intentions rooted in your, excuse me, bubble, in your values and coming back to what matters to me in this life, what really is important to me. And then again, like I said before, we get to kind of weave in our desires where it's like, but what do I want? Like, what is this next version of what I want to be living? Maybe you're working towards buying a house. And so, what's your intention for today to get there eventually? Eventually, you know? So, we can start with these small steps. It can start with just a whole lot of intention, and that's presence. That's our mindset in the moment. Okay, the next one is listening. This one is very important. And for some, maybe you don't have a connection to your inner guidance. For some, you maybe don't have what you would call intuition, or you do, maybe you've experienced it. But this again, kind of like the boundary muscle that we need to build, is also a muscle, is a listening to this inner dialogue that we have going on, or this inner wisdom that we have that's so often, and it's not our fault. Everything is so loud. Everything and everyone is so loud around us. So of course it's hard. Of course it's hard to hear. And I loved this, less about overthinking and more about eavesdropping on your own soul. We just gotta do a little dropping in to what we have going on in here. Okay, this is where it gets so simple. If you've done anything with me before, if you've had a conversation with me at all before, probably you've heard me say this. Our gut has a language. Our gut makes sounds. I mentioned it briefly yesterday, but those sounds where you go, ugh, where you receive a text from someone, hey, like the text I got last night, I'm not gonna lie, it gave me a little, to have to leave the house in the cold. And then I thought, of course, poor her. Of course I'm gonna go. And so those sounds though, and like there's gonna be moments where you hear that, ugh, and then you can actually say like, oh, perfect. That was a clear no. That was a clear no. So easy to say no to this, you know? And then there's going to be moments like, let's give an example where, say, logically, because this is getting out of our logical mind when we start to drop into this, like, ooh, this excitement and inner wisdom. So logically, you have ingredients. I'm going to talk about food a lot. You have ingredients in your fridge to make like chicken and broccoli tonight or something, and then you just get this new cookbook. You go to the bookstore, you get a book, and you're going through it. You see this recipe that you're like, literally, right? You make that sound. We all probably have made that sound when we get a plate of food that we're like, oh, or take a bite of it. And so you're like, logically, I've got the ingredients to make this other boring thing. Sorry, chicken and broccoli is probably delicious too, but and so what if you just listen to your gut in that moment? You go to the store, get the ingredients, you make this delicious meal for yourself, and you enjoy it. And the whole time you're going, and it's so satisfying. That was your gut just telling you what you wanted, and you gave it to yourself. Like it's, and so that's an example about food, which food you can start with that, honestly, start with like the smells, the tastes, the senses that give you those feelings, and then it can go into bigger things, like requests that come your way, opportunities that come your way. Ooh, excited but scared. Listen to that. And then just like play with it. Go towards it. Even those ones that may be a little scary, but you had this like towards it. And the ones that are like, that's the dread. Dread is your intuition speaking to you. When you look at your week ahead, if you can, without looking at your actual calendar, or maybe you want to look at your calendar, is there anything? There's probably something on there for all of us that we all dread. Ugh, I can't wait till that thing's done. I can't wait till I can't wait till Tuesday's finished because then that thing will be done. Like, okay, that's information. Maybe you can't cancel it, but maybe you don't put something like that on your schedule again if it's at all possible. Or maybe you just start delegating, eliminating bit by bit those things that make you go like, I can't wait till that day is over. Because we are not here to wish away our lives, right? When we zoom out, we are not here to wish away our lives and to wait for the weekend. And excitement is the other end of that. What do you look towards your week that excites you? You're like, I can't wait. And it doesn't mean you're trying to like rush to that day, or maybe you are, but you're just like, that's so fun. For me, it's pickleball Tuesdays. I play pickleball every Tuesday, and I'm like, I love Tuesdays. And it's a non-negotiable for me. There have been many moments where I'm like, I probably should go to pickleball because I should do this other thing. It's a busy week for me. I have a lot going. And I don't cancel it. I don't cancel that on myself. There's other things that I have, but that is non-negotiable. So we want to have more of those things on our calendar that are for us, purely for us. And there might be other things like I was so looking forward to this. This is for me, this is for you, this is for all of us. It doesn't need to be only for you. So we need to also just be like opening our senses, paying attention. The biggest tool through all of this work is awareness, is a noticing, like Nikki said yesterday. So we're paying attention and what's making us feel like pulled towards it or like away from it. The leaning like I'm excited, I'm drawn in, or like, I don't like it. And then I always give the example of the coin flip, which I'm sure you all have heard about before, but we were like, I don't know what I want. Because that's why I put these two windows, because we're like making decisions. Like, do I want this or do I want that? And you're like, okay, I have a free soiree. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna either go to the spa. I love Spa Bolton. I'm gonna go to the spa, or I'm gonna take myself to my favorite restaurant. And I'm gonna bring this book that I wanted to read because I've been putting it off for so long. And so heads is the spa, tails is the restaurant, and I flip and I get heads and I go, what that initial quick reaction. We didn't think we knew what we wanted. We didn't think we knew. We thought, I like both. I like both. And then when you get that answer, you literally get that answer inside of you. I wanted that restaurant. I know exactly what I wanted to order at that restaurant even. So, I just needed to like check in with myself. So pay attention to that response. And then again, we talked about this yesterday, but we're going to play a lot with this over the membership over the 3 months. What would I said she because I didn't know there'd be a gentleman here, but what would she or he do? And this is that next level version of you. This is the one where you're like thinking of a dream day that you could live. And probably you could live it. Probably you could live that dream day tomorrow, actually. There might be some like if you're like thinking of a plane ticket or something, it may, maybe like next week. But we start to daydream about her or him. And then we start to inquire. So, like, again, with these two doors, like, I don't know if I want to do this or that. What would she do? What would he do? That, like, version of me that is so at home in who she is, that has this sense of freedom all the time, what would they do? And so last night, I was leaving my friend's place after bringing her cat inside. And I sat in the parking lot and I was like, what would she do? And so she went to the Dippenar and bought Pringles and nibs and went home and got in the bath immediately and ate her snacks in the bath. And that was that next level version of me. And sometimes the next level version of me is turning off the TV and making a cup of tea and reading my book. And I know you see those two scenarios as one being healthy and one being not healthy. We can talk. I don't know. I know what you mean, but also I don't know. Last night felt really good for the soul. So there's not just always a clear answer of what we're supposed to be doing, right? Well, there is of what we're supposed to be doing, but what we actually want. It's not always so black and white. Creativity, I call her the dark horse. The dark horse in the mix because so many of us put it aside. So many of us think, I'm not a creative person. The ability to remix the sequence of your life boldly, rearranging ideas, choices, and experiences in a way that feels delightfully, unapologetically you. To do all that is going to take some creativity. To live the life that you've just been living automated, we don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need to be creative in our lives. So we do talk about in the membership in the program, we talk about like, yes, let's do something that you would create just for the pure joy of creating it. Let's get out the paintbrush, even though you're not a painter. Let's get out the knitting needles, even though you haven't done it in years. Of course, all of that I think is very valuable. And being creative with the sequence of our lives is so much fun. Being creative with our calendars is so much fun. And that's what we get to play around with. Our life can be one big creative sequence. And within this, I also love to encourage people to create a playlist. As if that playlist, I've been playing it a lot again. I made it like months ago, the one that I had done for the original program. And I keep adding to it. And then sometimes I'm like, not that song anymore for the season of life I'm in. But it's just songs that make you feel. It's songs that make you feel. It doesn't mean like sometimes it's the lyrics, it's the words, but sometimes it's the beat. Sometimes it's the sounds, you know? And so if you're like, I'm feeling out of sorts, like play your playlist. It's like a playlist for your life. It could be, if your life was a movie, it would be the soundtrack to your life. So that's something fun that we get to play with. And even if you're not going to join, I encourage you to do that. Like just write a playlist with that's your name or something. And then anytime you hear a song, again, that just like, you ever get those goosebump songs? Like those to me, those should all be on the playlist. But like just those ones that give you a feeling, playlist it. Rest. Take a sip of water. I get so excited. A radical act of pressing pause, letting your mind and body exhale. We forgot our movement break. I forgot to give our movement break. If you need a little stretch right now, now you can do it. If you want to just reach your arms forward, up, back, or circle, or stretch your neck, or stand up, or take a deep breath. Get in your body for a second. That's a pause. Doesn't need to be complicated. The thing with the rest piece is that, ideally we don't need to take a month-long retreat to fill our cup, to fill our battery again. Because if we've reached that point where we need to take an entire month or longer, and even that doesn't help, we've gone too far. And if you're there where you feel so depleted, let's talk. But ideally, we're filling ourselves up along the way with little pockets, moments of rest. And this is so hard for so many of us. It's so hard because we're worried of what people will think. We're worried that it's not seeming that we're productive, again, members of society or whatever. It's so like so messed up that it's like if we go to bed exhausted, then we've had a productive day. I disagree. I always tell people whenever I teach a yin class or a restorative class, I always remind people when we're in the stillness of the posture, this is the most productive you've been all day. We need to rewrite that. We need to rewrite that. It's so needed. So if you related before to me saying like everyone's so tired, it's like, and again, rest doesn't need to look like napping, right? What would recharge your battery? Like this to me gives me energy. Being with people I love gives me energy. And sometimes it's really being alone. That's why I put myself in the compartment of a bath because I can't do anything else. I can't leave. That's why baths are so special to me. And just we need, especially if you have we could call it a toxic relationship with rest. We need to change that. We need to nurture it and we need to build it and grow it. Action. So those are the ebbs and flows, right? There's going to be moments where when I wasn't running any programs, when I was going through treatment, I was again very lucky in that I was only sick for a couple days a month after my treatment. I had treatment every 4 weeks for 6 months. And I know that's still not great, of course, but still, I know a lot of people have it much harder. Um, I was not in a space to create a program like this. I was not, and I didn't because I was honoring myself. I was resting. I was investing in healing. I was like diving deep into this healing work. And then I got so tired of healing. And then I wanted to live. And now that I have the energy, I am feeling good. I'm still in maintenance treatment, but it's only every 3 months. It leaves me feeling fine. I want to take action. So you really need to be honest with what season of life you're in too. If you're like, I wanted to create this business for so long, I've wanted to, do this big move for so long in your life, and I don't know why I haven't been able to do it. Maybe you're not doing the rest yet. Maybe you're not taking time with that yet. And the action can come in very, very small ways. So the bold leap from thinking about it to actually doing it. That's going to be that transitional moment. But you need to make sure, listen, check in, find your intention behind why it is you're thinking of doing this. I moved you guys down there, so I'm looking down there now. What do you want to create space for? What do you actually desire? And again, if we're not sure, we can play around with this. It's going to be super fun because I have zero doubt that within 3 months together, if you have a desire at the start, you can have it by the end if you want it. So long as you nurture yourself along the way. So long as you don't force it and think, oh, shoot, I should be further along than I am, so I'm just not going to bother. Don't give up. Remember? We're all here because I didn't give up. What is actually a priority to you, too? I have a book that is pretty much written. It's in the editing phase, which is the hardest thing in the world, being edited, but it's also the most valuable thing in the world, I think, because I want to offer something that is the best possible version of itself. And so I need help doing that from an editor. So that's the process it's in. It's been on a pause for a while. And is it becoming a priority again? Yes. So other things are going to have to move out of the way for that to happen. And then again, we can kind of zoom out because sometimes we get so overwhelmed writing a book. That's wild. That's huge. We got to break it down. So tomorrow, maybe I open my computer and I revisit chapter 1. Maybe I start with that. Baby steps. And then honor yourself along the way. And again, we're going to have weeks where we're like, whoops, went on autopilot again. Totally forgot what I was actually here for, what actually matters to me. These are great weeks. I love these weeks because the best part is that you've noticed and that you now can choose again this next week or today or tomorrow. We can keep choosing. Freedom, the delicious feeling of living life on your own terms. Mmm. Yum. How great is that? On your own terms. If money wasn't a thing and if you didn't actually care what others would think. I know we think we don't care, but we all do. We all do. We think we don't because we're all like evolved grown-ups. We still care. But if you really didn't care, what would you do then? I'd be that lady. What would you do then? That's what it's all about. So you could just take a moment and see, did any of these stand out to you? Maybe a little bit of everything. Maybe a month ago, like during the holiday season, it was one thing and now it's another. The next month might be another. And maybe you're not sure. And that's okay too. So just taking a moment to see, or maybe you're not really sure what any of them mean still. That's okay. So we have a bit more time. I'm just going to share a little bit about the homecoming membership. 3 months. I have it on my website, so I'm actually I'll do that after though, but I'll send it all to you in the recap email anyways, so there's no urgency around this. It actually does start Tuesday with a call, an hour-long call Tuesday at 7 p.m., just like this, a call just like this, where we chat. There will be more opportunity for sharing though, because as mentioned, the community aspect is actually the most important and valuable parts of it. And um, sorry, I'm just trying to move that. Oops. Oh, I lost. I tried to get too technical and then I paused it. There we go. Let me try this again. There we go. Okay. So this is really to honor the ebbs and flows in your life. And to do that over a 3 month period is going to be much better than over 6 weeks, which is what it was originally. And then you get to feel these little shifts that take place and that create ripple effects in your very own life, and then no doubt in the people around you's life. So these are the nitty-gritty details of that. It's 3 months long from February 4th, February, March, April, basically those entire 3 months. So anyone who has listened up until this point, I'm going to send the discount code in the email. Lisa, we're going to figure this out together. You got so excited and that makes me so happy, but I really do want you to receive this discount. So it's 275 for the whole 3 months together. What is included is these types of calls every other Tuesday. So it's not even weekly like this, it's every 2 weeks. We have a call like this where we touch base and we talk about the theme. So we carry that theme with us throughout the couple of weeks. Every Friday morning at 8 a.m., there's a 30-minute yoga session where we get into our bodies. There will be little, obviously, conversation as well. There'll be a little touch point. It's really going to be a great opportunity to bookend your week and to say, like, okay, wait, what worked? What didn't work? And you can really take a moment to land. And if you're not a yoga person, if you've taken yoga with me before, you know it's all levels, it's all bodies are welcome. And I always offer modification. So some of the classes, let's say the class on rest or the week on rest, we're going to be really doing very little on our mats, slowing down. Action week, there might be a little bit more flow, but there's always options for your body to benefit from this, to move. So those are the main pieces. You're also getting an additional one yoga class a month called Breathing Room. That's the last Monday of every month. That workshop with Erin, who's going to be talking about our actual homes that we live in and how we can curate them so that they feel better to our inner self. And I have to say, the last round of the homecoming, that came up so much, was people that were actually living in circumstances where they were either under renovations or things were just feeling a little upside down in their actual home, and it makes it really hard. So that's going to be really, really helpful. And then there's also a little group chat, which I know everyone has so many, like, we don't want to be tied to our phone any more than we need to be, but this was really valuable. And that's places where like podcasts get shared, questions get asked. I do coaching in there. So if you're looking for that really nurtured support system that is not just, your friends, that are people that are really like working on this together, then that's a part of it as well. And all of this is optional. All of this can be done in your own time. You can watch the replays, the recordings. Obviously, it's great if you can be there live. And finally, there's an optional book club. That was something I wanted to throw into the mix. I didn't want to keep adding to this, but I want to read the book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. If you've listened to her podcast, she's awesome. And the Let Them Theory is very on point with my concept of that does not belong to me. So anyways, that's what I'm going to be reading. And so if anyone else along the way, they have it at the local bookstore as well. It's only in hardcover right now, but if anyone along the way wants to be motivated to read as well, then that'll be going. And that'll be like additional, so you won't need to you won't miss out. You won't miss out if you're not reading it. And we'll read it over the 3 months, so it gives us a bit of time. Okay. What time is it? Oh, 10:57. Amazing. Okay. 10 new messages. Yay. All right. Intuition and curiosity about what I want to read this, but I can't see it. There we go. Might learn from you and from everyone here is what made me sign up. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. It's never too old. We're never too old. It's never too late. Action is where I'm frozen. Yes. Yes. Okay. Oh, y'all here for the right reasons. That's for darn sure. Um, if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to be sending that email, which, hold on, I'm just going to stop. Can't do more than two things at once.